I thought it was just heartburn, something I ate. These were the words of 62-year-old Frank Martinez, a former college football player from Phoenix. What he thought was indigestion would turn out to be something that almost killed him. And the scariest part? He drove himself to the hospital. Frank had been an athlete his whole life. High school football, college scholarship, decades of staying in shape. If anyone seemed safe from heart problems, it was him. But here's what doctors don't tell you. Being fit doesn't make you immune. And the warning signs, they're not what you think. What happened to Frank on that Father's Day weekend would shock his family, his doctors, and himself. Because heart attacks don't always look like the movies. Sometimes they whisper instead of scream. This is Frank's story, and it might save your life. Frank Martinez had what most people would call a perfect retirement. At 62, he and his wife Maria had just celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary. Their son Carlos was finishing his sophomore year at Arizona State, and Frank was there for every recruiting visit, every game. Frank took pride in his health. Every morning, he'd wake up at 6 a.m. for his walk around the neighborhood. His doctor always praised his blood pressure, his weight, his energy level. "You're in better shape than men half your age," Dr. Phillips would say. That Father's Day weekend, Frank was doing what he loved most, supporting his son. Carlos was being recruited by several colleges, and they had driven to Tucson for an important visit. But that morning, Frank woke up feeling different. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. A burning sensation in his chest. Probably that spicy dinner last night, he thought. Little did he know, his body was sending him a desperate warning. The burning sensation started subtle. Frank had experienced heartburn before. Who hasn't? But this felt persistent, like someone had lit a small fire in the center of his chest. During the college visit, Frank tried to focus on his son's future, but the discomfort kept nagging at him. It wasn't getting worse, but it wasn't going away either. "Dad, you okay?" Carlos asked during a break, between meetings with coaches. "Just a little heartburn, mijo." "Nothing to worry about," Frank replied, forcing a smile. But Maria noticed something different in his voice. After 35 years of marriage, she could read him like a book. "Frank, you look pale," she whispered. An hour passed, then 2. The burning sensation remained constant, like a low-grade fever that wouldn't break. Finally, Frank made a decision that would save his life. But what he did next goes against everything we think we know about emergencies. "I'm going to the hospital," Frank announced quietly to Maria. "Something's not right." "I'll drive," Maria said immediately, reaching for her keys. "No, you stay with Carlos. This is his big day. I can drive myself. It's probably nothing." Looking back, Frank admits this was both the smartest and most dangerous decision he ever made. Smart because he listened to his body. Dangerous because he drove himself while having a heart attack. The 20-minute drive to the emergency room felt eternal. Frank kept the radio low, windows down, telling himself it was just indigestion. But deep down, he knew something was seriously wrong. At the hospital, Frank walked into the ER and said the words that would change everything. "I think I might be having a heart attack." What the doctors found next would shock everyone, including Frank himself, because sometimes your body can betray you even when you think you're doing everything right. The nurse immediately took Frank seriously. Within minutes, he was connected to an EKG machine, blood was drawn, and tests were running. "Mr. Martinez, your enzyme levels are extremely high," Dr. Chen explained an hour later. "You've suffered a heart attack." "That's impossible," Frank said. "I walk every day. I eat well. My cholesterol was fine at my last checkup." "When was your last cholesterol test?" Dr. Chen asked. Frank paused. "Maybe 2 years ago?" Dr. Chen nodded knowingly. "Mr. Martinez, you can't feel high cholesterol. There are no symptoms. And being physically fit doesn't prevent clogged arteries if you have genetic predisposition or if your LDL levels have been climbing silently." The heart catheter procedure revealed the truth. Frank had a 90% blockage in his main artery. 1 more hour, maybe less, and the outcome could have been very different. But Frank's story doesn't end in that hospital bed. What happened next would transform not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. 6 months later, Frank Martinez was a different man. Not weaker, but wiser. Not fearful, but focused. He started getting annual cholesterol tests. He learned about LDL levels, the bad cholesterol that had been silently building up in his arteries for years. His doctor adjusted his medications and fine-tuned his diet. But most importantly, Frank became an advocate. He started talking to other men his age about the importance of heart health screenings. "I used to think heart attacks happened to other people," Frank tells groups at his local community center. "Overweight people, smokers, people who didn't take care of themselves. I was wrong." Frank learned that heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women in America, and that many heart attacks are completely preventable with proper screening and early intervention. Today, Frank is healthier than he's been in years. Carlos finished college and often credits his father's experience with teaching him to never take health for granted. "My dad saved his own life by listening to his body," Carlos says, "but he's saving other lives by sharing his story." Frank's message is simple but powerful. Don't wait for symptoms you can feel. Get tested. Know your numbers. Heart disease is silent until it's not. He encourages everyone over 50 to ask their doctor about complete cholesterol panel, including LDL levels, blood pressure monitoring, family history review, regular heart health screenings. "I thought I was invincible because I was active," Frank reflects. But being active isn't enough if you don't know what's happening inside your arteries. Frank Martinez learned that the most important muscle in his body, his heart, had been crying for help in whispers, not screams. By listening to those whispers, he saved his own life. If you're watching this and you're over 50, don't wait. Don't assume you're fine because you feel fine. Make that appointment. Get those tests. Sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply listen to your body and act on what it's telling you. Your family needs you here. Your future needs you here. And you deserve to enjoy all the years ahead.